how he was talking about the roles of women and men. And actually, these women that I'm talking about really aren't mothers in the Bible that we know of. But they are exceptional women nevertheless. God put them in there for a reason. And I was sitting there thinking about when Rick did say, you know, in marriage, there's no room for feminism and there's no room for sexism. And so I want you to know, though, when I read these stories about these women, it's not feministic at all. I don't want it to be taken that way because they were such bold, powerful women. So I'm going to take us back to the Old Testament for a couple of gals. And this first gal that I'm going to talk about, actually, she doesn't even have a name. And I'm going to be reading out of, let's see, 2 Samuel 20 for my first lady. And I want this message, I think this is going to be exciting, and the guys will definitely like this message as well. And I just want to correlate the message from the Old Testament and how God can use that today in our lives now for all of us mothers as well. And I think that pretty much like when Rick talks about women and men, I think that we have a lot of bold women in this church. I think we've got a lot of women that stand up in their faith, in their home. And if maybe that's an area you feel like you're lacking, maybe this will just really inspire you, both man and woman. Anyway, we're going to start out 2 Samuel 20, verse 1. And I am reading out the NIV. So it says, now a troublemaker named Sheba, son of Bichri, a Benjamite, happened to be there. He sounded the trumpet and shouted, we have no share in David, no part in Jesse's son. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So all the men of Israel deserted David to follow Sheba, son of Bichri. But the men of Judah stayed by their king all the way from the Jordan to Jerusalem. Go down to verse 4. Then the king said to Amasa, summon the men of Judah to come to me within 3 days and be here yourself. But when Amasa went to summon Judah, he took longer than the time the king had set for him. David said to Abishai, now Sheba, son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom ever did. Take your master's men and pursue him, or he will find fortified cities and escape from us. So Joab's men and the Ketherites and the Pelethites, all the mighty warriors, went out under the command of Abishai. They marched out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, son of Bichri. Down to verse 14. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, Beth-Makkah, and through the entire region of the Berites, who gathered together and followed him. All the troops with Joab came and besieged Sheba in Abel, Beth-Makkah. They built a siege ramp up to the city, and it stood against the outer fortifications. While they were battering the wall to bring it down, a wise woman called from the city, listen, listen, tell Joab to come here so I can speak to him. He went towards her, and she asked, are you Joab? I am, he answered. She said, listen to what your servant has to say. I'm listening, he said. She continued, long ago they used to say, get your answer at Abel, and that settled it. We are the peaceful and faithful in Israel. You are trying to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why do you want to swallow up the Lord's inheritance? Far be it from me, Joab replied, far be it from me to swallow up or destroy. That is not the case. A man named Sheba, son of Bichri, from the hill country of Ephraim, has lifted up his hand against the king, against David. Hand over this man, and we'll withdraw from the city. The woman said to Joab, his head will be thrown to you from the wall. Then the woman went to all the people with her wise advice, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bichri, and threw it to Joab. So he sounded the trumpet, and the men dispersed from the city, each returning to his home. And Joab went back to the king in Jerusalem. That's a pretty tough passage when you really, really think about that whole scenario. First of all, we have this evil man that wants to go against the king, cause a revolt, just as bad as Absalom did. And David even said with his own words, he is worse than Absalom ever thought of being. So he wants to directly revolt against the king. He was a worthless man. He was an evil man. And we all know that in the Old Testament, God said, when he said to slaughter all of them, he meant it. It's not because he's a cruel God. It's not because he was an unjust God. He would not tolerate sin in any form. When he said to annihilate a people, he meant it. And he stated it in his word, man, woman, infant, and pretty much all of their livestock as well. Because he knew their hearts. And that's, we look at that, and of course we don't do that today, but God was taking care of evil before it took care of others, in a sense. So anyway, we've got this man loose, and we know that he's going to go, and he's going to find a fortified city to hole up in. So he goes to Abel. And a fortified city is one that has all the walls built up around it. It has the big gates. It's got to have guards. Because it's a shut-up city. It's a protected city. And so we've got this fortified city that this man has worked his way into. Okay? So Sheba is now in this city. It doesn't say who let him in, or where he's being protected. But obviously somebody let him in and somebody's letting him hide there. And they're watching over him. They have to know what's going on. They have to know. So anyway, you've got this man in there, and then you've got Joab, who is a mighty commander of David's army, and he's to go find this man and destroy him. And he's the one that starts with the battering rams against the city, saying, if you don't open your gates, we're going to tear your walls down, so to speak. So he continues on, and for some reason, and like I said, this is not a feminist statement at all, there was nobody that stood up. There's nobody that said, what does he want? There's nobody that went to the gate and said, what's going on? Why are you trying to tear down the walls? But one woman. We don't even know her name. But the Bible calls her a wise woman. And she's the one that finally had enough and obviously went to the wall and said, what do you have with us here? We are a peaceful city. You're trying to destroy the walls of our city that is a mother city in Jerusalem, in Israel, I mean. We are a faithful city. And this is a city when anybody ever needed a matter settled, they could come to Abel and it was taken care of. It's kind of like today, if we go to court, the judge says guilty, not guilty, it's taken care of. He's given his decision, right? So this was how Abel was. I mean, they had respect for this city. It was a mother city. I mean, that was important in those days. So only this woman is the only one to ask, why are you here? Why are you trying to tear this place down? We have no idea. It kind of brought me back as I was thinking about this story to what we're studying in Esther. Okay? So we were talking about this in Bible study this week, that we were talking about Esther. And we were kind of talking about how now she's in there, she's the queen, and she's in the palace, but she's a little bit secluded from reality. And it's not because she's naive or anything like that, I don't believe that, but she is because she's not aware of what's going on outside around her. So Mordecai has a meeting with her and tells her about what's going on and Haman's plan to destroy all the Jews. And it just reminded me in this city that, this man of evil, this rebel, comes into their city and people are just looking the other way. Well, he's not bothering me. He's not bothering my family. As long as he doesn't cause any trouble in here, it's okay. You think about that. You think about that in your homes. You think about that in your lives right now. Because America is getting destroyed because of these facts. Well, that doesn't concern me, so I don't need to have a voice. That doesn't bother me in the schools because I don't have any kids in school. It took one woman to destroy prayer in school because nobody stood up. Because people looked the other way. Because people said somebody else will come in and take care of it. So this woman, it It just reminded me of Esther, because it's sometimes, if we're not aware of what's coming against us, what's coming against our city, what's coming against our children, what's coming against our schools, we're going to turn a deaf ear, and we're not going to pay attention to things. I know that we should pick our battles, and we don't need to be overloaded with things, but as Christians, we need to stand for what we believe in, even if it doesn't directly affect your household.
Amen.
So you have this woman, and they call her the wise woman, so I believe that she was one of the women. It said in my notes that she was one of the wise women that gave counsel in that city. When somebody would come to that town and they would need that, she would give a word to them. So she was one of them that would help settle a matter. So at that time, just like Greg was talking about earlier about lack of respect, women didn't just stand up and do that. No. So I do have to ask, and this is why I'm not saying this is a feminist remark, but where were the men? Where were the ones that were leading that city, if it was such a great city, to stand up and say, wait a minute, you're not going to tear our walls down? Where was everybody? So then we get the part, and she says, okay, so what do you want? And they were like, you know what? We won't tear up your walls. We won't tear up your city. You just give us Sheba. You just hand him over, and we will leave you alone. That is all we want. She said, fine, no problem. She went and counseled other people, and they cut that man's head off, and they chucked it over the wall. I know that that's just, brutal and out there and to the point, but you know what? She didn't tolerate it. She didn't play with it. She didn't mess around with it. She got rid of the problem, and she got rid of it right away. She handled it accordingly. And Joab said, thank you. Battering rams are going to stop. We're all good. We're on our way. God bless your home. So we look at all of this story seriously as in comparison now to our lives. Okay? First of all, what have you allowed into your home? What have we allowed into this city? Because we don't stand up for it. What have we allowed to happen in our families? And I'm not pointing at anybody, because I sure don't have a perfect family. I don't have a perfect home, and I don't think anybody does, but we strive for it. But what are you allowing in? Because, see, Sheba, to me, represents sin that we just kind of put up with. Sin that just kind of slips in and, well, nobody knows about this, so it's okay. Oh, you know what? It's not that big of a threat. I'll deal with it later. No. I mean, seriously, it can be little foxes that slip in and take over your home. So, us, partnered together with our husbands, have to be the caretakers and the protectors of our fortified city. Because we better have those walls up, and we better hope that the enemy is not going to come and try to knock them down as well. So we put up those walls, and we stand in strong faith. And when I was going through this, and I don't mean to leave anybody out, but I was thinking about Alicia in prayer, and Annette in prayer, and these mighty women we have in here that stand up and say, darkness, you're not coming into my house. Darkness, you let your hands off my kids right now. Darkness, you gotta go, because they're not going to tolerate it. And it doesn't matter. And it's just like with my husband. He's not a devout, church-going Christian, but he stands behind me. So it's like I do have to take the authority in my household, and you better be ruthless about it. You better be ready to cut the head off of that thing and chuck it over the wall. Amen?
Amen.
So I was sitting here thinking about things like with my family and my kids and stuff I've stood up for. And I remember my son is 24 right now. And I remember the first time I kind of really got on to him about drugs, because it scared me. It was about 12 years ago. I was a pretty new Christian, and God, just bear with me through this story, because it's short, but you guys are going to go, oh my gosh, Kathy, oh my gosh. So anyway, he was in the Christian school. He is a big boy. I mean, he's a big boy. And at 12 years old, he was already, I think, 6 foot tall. So he was in the Christian school, and I think they had like the police come in and give the dare talk and the drugs. And this is really, honest to God, the first time I ever heard of methamphetamine. And something rose up in me, I mean, an anger like no other. What it was made of, the chemicals that were in there, how it was exposed to our kids, and then, you know, all the other things that were happening, like these pill parties and all this, and I'm sitting there going, okay, wow, this blows me away. I did my share of stuff in the day, but not the stuff that was starting to come out and start to hit our kids. You know, because if we don't sit there and think it's not going to get your kids, you better talk to them earlier. Now, because it's hitting even younger ages now. And it is, and we better take a stand to it. So this, you know, he's 12, and I'm thinking, and Stephen was raised, even though I was a partier, and I used to drink a lot, Stephen was not raised in that environment. He never, ever, I think one time when he was young, he saw me drink once. And then God took that away from me completely. But it wasn't a drinking household, it wasn't a partying household, so I mean, you know, we kind of count on some things to help, but we still have to be enforcers. So, anyway, my mouth is so dry, excuse me. So anyway, I'm sitting here, and I'm kind of freaked out about this meth thing. And I'm hearing about the ingredients, and I'm like, why would anybody put that into their body? Why? Why would you? Seriously, I was blown away by it. So I mean, I'm scared. I'm a little nervous. And you know, like I said, I was a pretty new Christian. So I picked up Stephen one day. I had thought on this for about a week, but I will never forget this, and he hasn't either, believe me. So anyway, I picked him up and I said, you know, I didn't know at that time how to be godly to him about stuff that scared me. And there's things that, you know, are going to approach our children that are going to kind of scare us. It really is. So anyway, I'm sitting there thinking about this meth thing, and I didn't know how else to do it, so that's why I asked you to bear with me. So we're sitting in the vehicle, and I looked at him and I said, I don't know how any else way to say this, son, but if I ever hear that you ever entertain the idea, that you're ever around it, you're ever toying with it, or you ever do it, this is what I will do to you. I will strap you into a chair, and I will take your arms out on a table, and I will take a baseball bat, and I will break every bone from your shoulder down to your fingertips. And Stephen's going, okay, Mom. And I was like, I'm in it. I was like, I'm not messing around here. I said, you will not be able to use your arms for nothing. You'll be sucking out of a straw for a year. Stephen was like, I remember his face. He looked at me like, gosh, she's going to kill me. I looked at him and I was so serious. I said, do you get my point? He said, yeah, Mom, I get your point. I said, I'm not kidding. You may be big, but I'll be bigger with a bat. And that's what I told him. I told him that all the way growing up because he's now, you know, he's 6'5" now. So I didn't know what else to do. And that was a reaction kind of out of fear, you know? But I was sitting there like, how do you put the seriousness and the consequences behind these actions to our children, to our loved ones? So then we get out here a little bit further, and he's out of the house, and he's living with his ex-girlfriend, and the twins hadn't been born yet, and everything, and he's been working, and, you know, he has his moments here and there. He never was a drinker. He didn't touch meth and all that, but he's living with this girl that loved to party. And so they started having problems, and her problem was with meth. And I'm telling you, man, when you're a mama, you're like, ooh, this is not going to come out good, Stephen. I'm telling you. He's like, Mom, I don't do that. I remember your talk. I was like, well, that's good. And I said, but you know what? You're allowing her to do it in your home. This isn't good. This is not good. And you just get so frustrated. And then I remember after that, I was driving home, and I remember the exact spot. It was dark. It was in front of the campgrounds on the way to my house. And it was like, God said very loud and clear to me, he says, you gave me your son when he was born. You give him to me again, and you take your hands off of him. Yes. I have him. And I bawled, and I cried, and I said, I release him to you. And I really did release him, like all of them. Because we want to release them, and we're like, oh, kind of tug of war with God. Oh, I'll worry about this one. I'll take this problem, you know, and we do that. So I remember that, and I mean, I felt that weight lift off my shoulders, and he says, do you not think I'm capable? You gave him to me. I will always watch over him. I will take care of him, but your hands have to be off of him. And it's like, whew, wow. So anyway, after that, I think kind of went a little bit more south with his girlfriend. He finally broke up with her, and then he hooked back up with her. And he had the twin babies, which, you know, I wouldn't trade them for the world. So then I get a call because she got turned in for smoking meth. And I now, and my husband, have to raise his children because he didn't want to get rid of her out of his house. I know this is getting really personal, but I want you to understand that it can happen to any home at any time. So I was mad. Ooh, I was mad about it. I pouted, I sucked my thumb. 16-month-old twins, are you kidding me? My life was now upside down if he would have only listened to me. But he didn't. So God got a hold of me once again, and he said, Kathleen, you prayed over these babies when they were born. You prayed for my divine protection over these babies when they were born. You asked me to watch over them and take care of them and keep them out of harm's way. And that's exactly what I did. That's why they're with you. So, suck it up, so to speak. I'm not kidding. You know what? It's funny because people are like, God doesn't talk to you like that. You want to make a bet? He's my daddy. Yeah. He is my father. And he will tell me because he loves me. Now, I don't mean that mean and disrespectful, but he tells you, come on, snap out of it, wake up. This is the truth of the matter. So, we raised the kids for a little bit. And, of course, then I am just totally in love with these two children now. I'm used to it. We've got a schedule. They're a part of my life every day. We've got a routine. It's very important. And then it seems like the case is in Rock Springs, and it seems like there's just this big time frame that nothing is happening. And the DFS, the people over here, they're going, we've never had it go this long, Kathy. We don't know how they're working it, why it's taking so long. Stephen has been in there. He moved her out like within a week of it happening. So now he had his own home. He had to do his compliance. He had to do his parenting classes because he was with her. And then he had started seeing the kids from the get-go, had everything done. In the whole period of 15 months, he was compliant 14 months. She took off, did her own thing, never had a clean UA. They did nothing to her. And I'm sitting here as a frustrated mother going, I don't understand. Why is nothing happening to her? Because we want to seek our own revenge. We want to see justice happen. Let me put it that way. There was no revenge about it. But I wanted to see justice happen. So anyway, I'm sitting there, time goes by. No court dates for 6 months, and I'm going, this is unreal. You know, they should have had something going on, and the kids placed back with Stephen a long time ago. And so, I mean, I'm getting really frustrated, and I sought counsel. I was like, I'm having a hard time. It's like, and people encouraged me and said, God's got a plan, and then God got a hold of me again, and he says, would you think that I would abandon you in the middle of this? I've had it so far, I will take care of it till the end. And I was like, Lord, we get so impatient. So that time drug on, and it was hard, but that eased my mind, because I knew he had it all under control. And now we come to the place where the kids are back with Stephen. He needs to still get legal custody, but they're back with him full time, and it's something we had always wanted. And God said to me, he says, I had to work something out in your son in this last year to be the father I want him to be. And I sat there and I was just in awe. Because he was like, I'm like, you're making him a good daddy. All this time you're making him a good daddy. You're teaching him values. You're instilling things into him. And that's why I have to take my hands off, because I'll go back to threatening. It doesn't work. It does not work. You cannot threaten your children and have them listen to you. I'm just telling you, just hold your breath on that one, because it ain't going to work. But anyway, I learned a lot through this. I learned that how God is so ever-present every single day, even more so when nothing is going on. And I know we talk about that and we preach about that a lot, but it's so true. You know, so we've got this city, which is our home, and we got to do everything we can protect it with, but it needs to be an honorable place. It needs to be a place where, you know, our kids can feel safe, and they can trust us and know that us as mothers are going to take a stand for their best interest. Because we will. Not that the fathers won't, I'm not saying that. But that we can stand up and we can speak out, and when we cut the head off of those things, God is faithful to listen and to protect us. So I thought about this story, and I was just sitting here thinking about things that happen in our town that we should be aware of. Things that happen with the school district. A lot of you got young babies and babies in schools, and you know, we just kind of go with the flow. I'm not saying anything major has come against Rollins, but what do we need to be watching out for? What do we need to be fighting for? And once again, examine your house. Because maybe you have a fortified house built, and you've got the walls all up, but you're trapping something inside of there that shouldn't be there. And it's time to cut the head off of that thing and throw it over the wall so peace can be restored. Because sometimes it feels like God's kind of battering us with those battering rams in all these different areas of our life. And we're thinking that, wow, our world is kind of coming apart and he's hitting so many areas. But he's saying, if you'll just give up that one thing, a lot of things will stop. Because they're just results of consequences, actually. You know, we kind of feel like we're getting hit hard in our family or our children or our job, and it's just not stopping. But all God's after is just one thing that he's been asking you for a long time, but we haven't given it up. It could be an attitude. It could be an addiction. It could be an issue that's been going on in your house. It could be something as simple as he don't want you watching them shows on TV no more. He don't want your kids playing all those gross, disgusting killing games on the PlayStation and stuff like that anymore. Maybe he doesn't like the music that's going on. You never know. There's a lot. If you want God to be the center of your home, in the center of your place, then you have to stand up as a mother and say, it will not come into my house by everything I can do to protect it. And we have to be bold about it. Yeah. So I really like this woman, how she didn't mess around. And I know it's, like I said, it's kind of a gruesome story, but it hits home. God didn't put up with sin back then at all. We should not even tolerate or toy with the idea that a little's okay, because it's not okay. And us as mothers of our home, we really have to watch out for everything, because the majority of fathers do work all day long, and we know more about what's going on in the family situation. Therefore, we need to stand in place also with our husbands and protect our families. And sometimes it's just not easy to do. But God has your kids. I promise you. I promise you, Stephanie, he has your kids. Amen. So then the next story that I wanted to talk about was just another young girl. Nothing of major concern, really. She's not a big name in the Bible. She is in part of Deborah's story. And that is in Judges 4. Now bear with me on this story because there's a lot of names in here that I might trip over. So we're going to go to Judges 4, start with verse 1. I'm going to read this. And it's not very long. Anyway, it says, after Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord sold them into the hands of Jabin, the king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth Hagoyim. Because he had 900 iron chariots and had cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried to the Lord for help. Deborah, a prophetess, a wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at that time. She held court under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites came to her to have their disputes decided. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, lots of words there, and said to him, the Lord of God of Israel commands you, go take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead the way to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands. Barak said to her, if you go with me, I will go, but if you don't go with me, I won't go. Very well, Deborah said, I will go with you, but because the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman. So Deborah went with Barak to Kadesh, where he summoned Zebulun and Naphtali. 10,000 men followed him, and Deborah also went with him. Now Heber the Kenite had left the other Kenites and the descendants of Hobab, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree in Zaninnim near Kadesh. When they told Sisera that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera gathered together his 900 iron chariots and all the men with him from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you? So Barak went down to Mount Tabor, followed by 10,000 men. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword, and Sisera abandoned his chariot and fled on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as Harosheth Hagoyim. All the troops of Sisera fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, however, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because they were friendly relations between Jabin, king of Hazor, and the clan of Heber the Kenite. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid. So he entered her tent, and she put a covering over him. I'm thirsty, he said. Please give me some water. She opened up a skin of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him up. Stand in the doorway of the tent, he told her. If someone comes by and asks you, is anyone here? Say no. But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. Barak came in pursuit of Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. Come, she said, I'll show you the man you're looking for. So he went in with her, and there lay Sisera with the tent peg through his temple, dead. On that day, God subdued Jabin, the Canaanite king, before the Israelites. And the hand of the Israelites grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, the Canaanite king, until they destroyed him. Once again, there's a woman. Jael, come on in here. I'll take care of you. You think I'm some weak little woman that ain't going to stand up for my country and my faith and my Lord and my family? Come on in here and get comfortable. I'll give you something to drink and lay your head down. And then she destroyed that sin. She took care of it. She didn't mess around. She didn't sit there and pray and wonder if she should do it. She already knew what evil he was, how he had been with all the Israelites. And she was definitely, even though they said there was a friendly relationship between her husband and Jabin the king, That didn't matter. She was still, obviously, an Israelite. And she wasn't going to tolerate it anymore, and she took matters into her own hands. And she said, look, I got the problem laying in here. It's all taken care of for you. I know, like I said, these are some stories I was going like, really, Lord? Really? I thought, well, the men will really like it. But it's true. You know, you look at these stories, and what we get from them is that it just cannot even be tolerated. Nowhere around our families, around this church family, or anything else that we have influence in this town. And we can't always just leave it up to our husbands to take with it, because God gave us that authority to stand beside them and kick sin in the head. Or drive a tent peg through it, one of the two. Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking about husbands here. I know, I was like, ooh, this is like that message from about hell I gave a couple years ago. It was pretty bold. I was like, man, Lord, you just always, you know, he's always so good, though. Because I looked at that and I thought, you know, I was sitting there going, I don't know, man. But I thought there's other women in there that we could be talking about. But you know what? These two women were in there for a reason. God put them in the Old, you know, and it was Old Testament and everything else, but it just goes back that we as a society anymore, we play with sin. We dabble in it. We have a little sympathy for it, you know, or maybe when it comes towards our kids, but we can't have sympathy for sin anymore. We have to take care of it as soon as it tries to hit the doorway into our home. And we have to say, you're not coming in here. And when God tells you to let go of your children, let go of your children. You will still always have that relationship with him. So now when I sit here and I think of my son, and I really didn't mean to tell all that, but when I sit there and I think about it, he now has a wonderful girlfriend that I've actually prayed about for about a year. And he's so happy. And God is shaping him into quite the man. And even though things aren't settled legally with those children, God has this.
That's right.
You know, we don't like to wait. We don't want to wait. And we have to wait on God. Amen. So, you know, I just want to inspire you, because I just told Allison earlier, too, with her daughter. I said, oh, dear. I said, teenagers are nothing. Wait till they move out. I thought it'd all be good when my kids moved out. Was I wrong? But I was the same way as well. And if I wouldn't have had that praying woman in my life, I probably wouldn't be saved here today. And that's a fact. So when you think that things aren't going right with your kids, whether they're at home or they're not in the home, or you think things just, God's not hearing you, think again. Because he hears every cry of your heart. He is protecting your families. He is raising up mighty women and men to stand together. There's no weaker sex as far as it comes to in faith. You have the same authority God gave Adam and Eve in the garden to rule and reign over sin in your life or when it comes near your house.
Amen.
So I just want you to be assured that, you know, you as mothers, if your heart's breaking over your kids, just give them to God. But you got to let go, because if you're still grieving, you still got a little bit of a pull on them. And there's times since, I think he was about 20 years old, maybe 19, when I gave him over to the Lord again completely. There's been times that I could just see myself taking back Stephen's problems, and Stephen, and God would be like, let go, let go. And that's all he had to say to me. And I was like, that's right, you got this. And I'm telling you, what better hands could my son be in?
Amen.
Yep.
Even though it doesn't look like it's supposed to be yet, he'll get there. I believe that. I'm living proof. And it might have taken me a little while. Like I said, we do some things out of being scared, you know, but we know what's best for our kids. And we have to stand our ground because that's the only way they will learn. That's the only way that they will learn. And we got lots of parents in here. And I know we got lots of strong families. So don't be intimidated when that devil comes knocking on your door. Open that door and cut his head off. That's the truth. So I pray that you're blessed by this message. I pray that it bless both mothers and fathers today. And you guys are doing great. Don't be so hard on yourselves. Parenting is hard.
Yes, it is. Amen.
It is. And it's tough when you can't no longer even seem to give advice to your children who have moved away from home because they don't want to hear it. You still just keep praying and travailing in prayer, and you have that authority to intercede on their behalf and stomp on that enemy's head. Don't just think they'll grow out of it. And like I said, if you don't think it won't happen to your house, it will. Unfortunately. Because the devil's mad, and he's going to attack this family here first before he attacks just people out there in the world.
Right.
So we have a great community. I'm doing all that I can when I'm in the jail to kill that demon of meth off. God, I hate that drug. Pastors out there ministering to the men and Rick and Joy and, you know, doing all we can so that their lives have changed for the better when they get out. So we need to just keep lifting up. We are in a prison town. We are in a jail town. We don't have any other help, so we need to stand together for these people so they can get out and make impacts and change their destinies.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a good thing. So I pray that you all have a wonderful Mother's Day. And don't think of my gory stories, too bad, but keep them as, you know, retrospect, like, you know, that it's just, when it comes to it and there's something attacking your house, you just deal with it, you deal with it now, and you get rid of that thing. Don't let it trickle in. Amen? So, Father, I just thank you today for this family. I just thank you for this message that came forth with your boldness. And it came forth with your word, Lord. It's out of your word. It's out of your, you know, you do not tolerate sin in any shape or form. And Father, I pray that you just strengthen the mamas in here to just let go of their babies and know that you've got them. But they can stand in and do what they can do, but trust in you for the rest. He put us on this earth to be a mother. He gave us all the qualities that we are to be mothers. And I just thank you, Lord, for every mama in here, because every mama in here has gone through her own battle one way or another. And she's won and she's conquered and she can keep conquering. And thank you for the men that you have put by her side, Lord, that will travail in prayer with her, that will be a partner with her to stomp out that evil that tries to come against our households. For that devil that wants to ram our walls and come into our cities, into our homes, into our towns, that we do not tolerate it and we get rid of that thing God's been talking to us about. I just thank you for that. And I thank you for Shirley, the mama. She's the reason that we're even here at Harvestime. And I'm so grateful for my spiritual family. I'm so grateful for her. I'm Robin, being our spiritual parents as well. And I'm thankful for my mama as well. So Lord, I just thank you for all the mothers, the ones that are gone. Bless their hearts. The ones that maybe we're distanced from, Lord, I ask for restoration. And Father, just for praise and love for the ones that are still here. May you have a blessed week. May you go out and everything you lay your hand to prosper. May you deal with that sin as God is dealing with you about it, and take care of those things that are in your home. In Jesus' name, amen. So be it. You have a song for us, Rick?